following documentary details the 1989-90 Lassiter Symphonic Band's preparation for performance in the 43rd Midwest Band and Orchestra Clinic in Chicago, Illinois, in December 1989. The band is comprised of approximately 90 instrumentalists, ranging in age from 14 to 18. The band has received 22 superior ratings in the past 7 years at the District 12 Band Festival, and the program has also consistently placed many students in the all-state bands and orchestras, the Georgia Governor's Honors Program, Atlanta Youth Wind Symphony, Atlanta Youth Symphony Orchestra, and Solo and Ensemble Festival. The Symphonic Band has previously performed in such events as the Southern Instrumental Conductors Conference at the University of Southern Mississippi in 1985, the University of Georgia High School Band Festival and Conducting Conference at Florida State University in 1987, the National Band Association's National Conference in 1988, and at the 1989 National Black Music Caucus in Atlanta last year. The Symphonic Band received the prestigious Sudler Flag of Honor from the John Philip Sousa Association. And now, join us for a visual and oral trip via performances, student interviews, and conductors' comments to the 1989 Lassiter Symphonic Band's Midwest Experience. There were many facets to the Lassiter Band's preparation for the historic performance. One crucial part of perfecting the performance is overcoming the fear of performing in front of such a critical audience. Alfred L. Watkins, director of bands at Lassiter since 1982, describes the pre-concert jitters of the students and also comments on how he was able to subside those fears during the preparation period.
What were some of the techniques that you instilled in the students to try to control pre-performance jitters?
First thing that I did was call a meeting of all my students and parents to explain to them the importance of the Midwest performance. Had to make a decision as to whether to allow the performance to play itself as if it were another concert and have the students only nervous on stage because they first of all were getting to the Conrad Hilton, see the large audience and what have you. And I had to decide on whether to do it that way or to tell them the importance of the Midwest on the outset, get all the jitters out of the way for the first 2 or 3 weeks of preparation, and then go about the business of intelligently preparing the program. It turned out to be the wisest of decisions. The Midwest had sent out some information on that subject, and Shirley Mullen was a string teacher that played the Midwest a few years ago, and that was her suggestion to her group was to have the meeting. So I followed her lead. She had the meeting. We got the pre-Midwest jitters out about the first 3 or 4 weeks, and we were really all very apprehensive about the performance. And once we got that out of the way, we could go about the business of intelligently laying out rehearsals so that we would first of all know our parts and be comfortable with it. We did one thing that I don't normally do with bands, but since we were playing anywhere from 9 to 11 selections, I decided to do it, is that we taped every selection and passed out to every student so that they would learn the piece as opposed to learning their own individual part. Because playing that many numbers and playing for an hour and 15, hour and a half, you can't really learn your part unless you know the piece in its entirety. And that's how conductors learn their score. They learn their score by a lot of times listening to recordings. And we learn our parts, but you never learn the whole piece. I think it helped the band to feel real comfortable with the overall piece, knowing what it was going to sound like from the beginning to the end. That part didn't feel comfortable. They could go listen to the record and find out how it fit in. The other thing that we did was work up a series of concerts before we got to the big stage so that we knew that we could play the program. We didn't know how it was going to sound that day particularly. At least we knew that we could play it. We knew where our problem spots were going to be. And I think we did 5 concerts before we got to Chicago, so the band was comfortable playing on stage. The band was comfortable playing in an audience.
What was your initial feeling when you stepped out onto the stage to conduct?
Oh, initial feeling was an unusual amount of pride and respect. The pride that came was the smiles that I got from the students, the enthusiastic applause that came from the audience itself. I expected them to be a lot harsher, a lot harder, a lot more critical as an audience. And what we all failed to realize that for the first time we would perform for 3,000, 3,500 people, and we never heard that many people applaud for us before. The second largest audience we ever performed for was the audience down at the Civic Center for the Sudler concert, and it's a 1,500 maximum. So you get accustomed to hearing that sound in your ears being an applause, and all of a sudden you get 3,500 people clapping for you at the same time. It's really uplifting. But I guess coupled with getting married, college graduation, and having children, that's probably the fourth greatest feeling I've ever had, stepping on the stage for the first time.
Were you nervous at first?
No, I was only nervous while we were in Chicago. I was only nervous the day of the concert. I was a little nervous that morning. Went back to the room for the first time in my life, took a nap before a concert. I've never done it before. But I felt real anxious to get on stage. The people in Chicago at the Hilton were real supportive and encouraging, and talking about we can't wait to hear the band, and we're looking forward to hearing it. So I really wanted to get the band on stage to play. I knew the band could play. I knew they could do a good job. I knew that the band was well prepared, and I just wanted to see what we could do once we did our best.
Alfred Watkins, take over.
Dr. Alfred Reed is a composer and arranger of many fine works for band. He is the composer of Symphony No. 3. This was the band's most challenging concert number. Dr. Reed discusses with the band the importance and prestige associated with being colleagues of the music world after an exhilarating Midwest performance.
I'm sure you don't need any more words. You saw what happened in that audience. I've attended this convention for 34 years. I've seen demonstrations. I have seen standing ovations at the end of concerts, during concerts. But I want to tell you that what you saw and heard tonight was one of the greatest, certainly in my 34 years. You can't buy that for $5 million or more, because that's what happens when an audience is moved not just by concord of sweet sounds, which is the way Shakespeare describes music, but by high level of accomplishment in an art. I have been a guest conductor for 35 years in 49 states. I haven't made Alaska yet. I certainly don't want to do it at this time of year. I've been in some of these states as many as 30 times and more. I have worked with every possible kind of group. I have also been honored by being invited to 5 continents, 16 foreign countries. I can give you 35 years of my life in one sentence, one short sentence. And here it is. It all depends on who's in charge. But that's it. That's the whole secret. Yes, money is important. Sure, physical facilities are important. Yes, yes, oh, yes, yes, that is very important. But at the apex of the pyramid, right up there, in the loneliest point in the world, is the person who has to make the decisions, the final decisions, the instantaneous decisions that we all of us have to live with in a performance. Because you see, dear friends, the audience only gets one crack at it. Only one. You've played the pieces 30, 40, 50 times to prepare. You know them backwards. If I asked you to play the whole symphony backwards, you could do it. Don't try. But the audience, who holds us all in its hands, only gets one crack when we're on the stage, either physically or spiritually, in my case, sitting there and living through every minute of it with you. Only one crack. And that's the difference between the men and the boys, the women and the girls, the professionals and the amateurs. Tonight, you're not just kids in a high school band. Tonight, you've come quite a few rungs up the ladder, and I am delighted, privileged, to call you fellow colleagues. Thank you so much for all that.
Very good. Alfred, please come over.
What was harder for you to control, your physical fatigue or your mental fatigue? Not just during the performance, but during the whole year, the whole preparation.
Probably mental, because practicing
Physical.
all the time.
Yeah.
Practicing all the time, it kind of gets draining. Doing the same thing over and over and over in class and every day after school and things like that.
Mental,
I think it's mental.
During the Midwest performance, how did you control individual fatigue?
Yeah, like we switched parts, like switched first and second, and sat out on a few numbers and things like that. I try to concentrate more.
What was most difficult, controlling physical or mental fatigue?
Mental.
Yeah,
Mental.
especially with the
Definitely. Especially with the symphony.
The emotion though took over though, so
You had so much
There's just too much
adrenaline.
the adrenaline was pumping.
Yeah, the
so
adrenaline.
it didn't-
Well, what was more difficult for you to control during the preparation, mental or physical fatigue?
The
mental. Night practices were killer.
While at the Midwest, many Lassiter low brass players participated in Tuba Christmas, an ensemble composed of many players from around the globe. Lassiter tuba player Rob Anke explains the event.
Did you get to hear other tubas from all over the country, or was it just high school students, or was it
It
everybody?
was anybody. I think there was the youngest guy there was like 6th grade, and the oldest guy is somewhere around 60, 70.
Wow.
And yeah,
Could you
they're
blow through that thing?
oh yeah, he was doing pretty good. But what happened was like Harvey Phillips or some famous tuba player came in and did the conducting and everything, and we went out in the lobby, and we had a lot of fun.
Miss Sue Samuels, Associate Director of Bands at Lassiter since 1987, has achieved many honors with the band program in her 3-year tenure. After playing in 2 symphony orchestras during her college years, Ms. Samuels graduated cum laude from Furman University in 1987. Ms. Samuels was president of the Mu Phi Epsilon Professional Music Fraternity, as well as a recipient of a Dana Foundation Research Fellowship. Since Ms. Samuels has been at Lassiter, the bands under her baton have earned superior ratings at the Georgia Music Educators Association Festival, as well as the 1989-90 National Adjudicators Invitational Music Festival. She is an integral part of the band program, being the founder of the Lassiter Clarinet Choir and various chamber music organizations on campus. Miss Samuels explains the honor and mystique of conducting the band on stage at the Midwest.
How did the band respond when you were directing the Trowage Saga, your piece?
They responded really well. As far as musically, they responded better than they ever had before. And I think that's how they were the whole concert long. Everybody paid just a little bit more attention during the concert, and the level of adrenaline was just high. And everybody, I think, was trying harder there than they ever had before, which is good. It was a good concert.
Could you see it in their faces, the gratification that they had for playing a good concert?
Yeah, it was gratification and determination maybe, and also just excitement. Maybe a little bit scared, but mostly excitement.
Yeah. If you had the chance, would you do it all over again?
Definitely, without a doubt.
What would you change? Would you change anything in the preparations or getting ready for it? Would you do anything differently than you did before?
I would try to learn my score a little earlier in the season so I wouldn't be panicked at the last minute like I was this past time. But as far as the band's preparation, I think we did it the way it needed to be done. I think we worked little by little all through the fall, and we didn't put off the panic to the last minute, and I thought it worked out really well, and the concert went well.
Trail Ridge Saga by James Barnes, Miss Sue Samuels, conductor. When you undertake such a grand event as the Midwest Band and Orchestra Clinic, how is the rest of your life affected? We first asked clarinet player Amy Hetrick about her grades.
Whenever I have the band, then I work, and everything else I do. But if I don't have band to keep me working, then my grades, I just don't do anything to work.
So you're saying your grades actually improved?
The bass clarinet section had these comments about the reasons why they managed their time extremely well during their Midwest preparation period.
Yeah, I started to actually manage my time instead of just sitting around.
Oh my gosh.
I came home and went to my room. Came down the next morning.
Well, how were your grades affected during this?
What grades?
Actually, my grades were better first semester than they were second. I think because I had so much worry about, I made myself do my homework. This semester that's not happening.
Band chaplain and bassoonist Colin Sainer explains the value of friendships within the band during the stressful periods.
I think it was good in the respect that had this been maybe an individual thing where maybe a soloist or something had gone and performed there, that they wouldn't have had all of the other people in the band to sort of, I guess, I don't know if you'd say lean on or have somebody to talk to, because when you go home at night, there really weren't parents that you could talk to or anybody in school that understood what you were doing and how hard the practices were and how well they paid off. But when you could come to band, it's like you could, even though it was hard work, you could release all your tensions and understand how other people felt during the process.
When the band commissions a work from a composer, it's a process in which the arranger tailors the piece to fit the band. Written especially for the Lassiter Band and the Midwest audience, Fantasy on a Colonial Air by James Curnow was premiered on stage at the Midwest Conference. Mr. Watkins explains the process of commissioning a work for the Lassiter Band.
Well, the first step in getting a commission work is to find the financial resources. Financial resources in this case came from the Booster Club. It was kind of a difficult chore because there haven't been any commission works done in our region, probably in our state, in a few years. So to talk to a group of parents, the laypersons in music about a commissioned work is a novel idea. The way that we sold it, we talked to them about the lives of Haydn, Mozart, Beethoven, Brahms, Bach, you name them. And they all did commissioned works as a living. That's what Susan did for a living. So the idea of getting a commissioned work across the Booster Club once we explained it was really easy. It was fairly expensive. The next step was to find a composer that could write the work that would fit the band. I had to find a composer that knew the band well. I didn't want to go through the process of sending out a lot of tapes and somebody writing on ego. Just because they've got a good band going to the Midwest, they can take a level 9 piece and go and show it off, and we would have been able to play it. So we had worked with Colonel before and talked to him, and he's since become a very good friend, programming friend of mine. And I was very comfortable having Jim write for the band. Our concepts of band sound and band philosophy are very similar. And he had conducted the band, I think, on 2 different occasions, 2 different years. So he knew about the consistency of the program, the depth of the program. And I like his music. I think his music's good. He understands the system of dynamics and articulation that can make a band sound different from an orchestra or from a smaller wind ensemble. So he enjoys the symphonic band. And, you know, he's prolific. He's one of the best composers that we have in the 20th century right now. So we were very lucky to be able to get a guy like Jim Colonel to write the work for us. So it all worked out well. It'll be published next year, and I think it'll be a big hit for future generations.
And now, based on the William Billings hymn, Chester, James Curnow's Fantasy on a Colonial Air, and its premiere performance by the Lassiter Symphonic Band. Lassiter High School was built in 1981. 80% of Lassiter's 2,000 students are college-bound. The school offers complete academic and career-oriented programs for the young student. Participation in instrumental music begins in the 6th grade. An emphasis is placed on individualized progress and performance-based criteria. At the high school level, band and orchestra classes meet for 50 minutes daily, and there are approximately 7,250 students enrolled in instrumental music in grades 6 through 12 throughout Cobb County. Lassiter High School principal for the last 7 years has been Douglas Allen. Mr. Allen has continually encouraged the fine arts at his school since he has been principal. Mr. Allen and his wife, Latrell, traveled to the Midwest with the Symphonic Band and thoroughly enjoyed the entire experience. He has these words for the Lassiter Band pertaining to the fine arts program in Cobb County and at Lassiter.
When did you first receive the news that Lassiter Symphonic Band had been invited to perform at the Midwest Convention?
Well, it was really in the spring of last year, sometime in the middle of April, that we found out about it.
Did you realize at the time the prestige of the invitation?
Well, not being a musician, I really wasn't able to appreciate the impact of receiving an invitation to perform at such a prestigious event. It was not until I started receiving information from Mr. Watkins that really the impact hit.
How did you feel when you were asked to stand and be recognized as Lassiter's principal the night of our performance?
Well, as you know, I'm completing my 30th year in education. I will be retiring at the end of this year. And if I had to pick one moment in my career that feeling proud that I was an educator, being associated with Lassiter High School and band program, it was that split second that my wife and I were asked to stand in such an outstanding program being recognized.
How did the other musician and band directors receive and treat you?
Well, it was real funny because no one knew who I was sitting up on the first row until I was recognized. Afterwards, many people, not only the other band directors, but many other principals that were there, came up and congratulated me. And thereafter, I had a hard time finding a hat large enough for my head because I really got the big head because I was just so proud to be associated with the program.
That's nice. Will you encourage other students in Lassiter and in the local area to participate in activities like band or orchestra?
Oh, absolutely. I have 2 children, and my daughter played the flute, and my son played the trumpet, and so I'm a very strong believer because many times people feel that band is an extracurricular activity that is non-academic, but I am convinced that you cannot go out and perform in a band program and not have your head on straight, because it does take a lot of cerebral power to really perform properly.
I agree with you there. What do you think are the benefits of extracurricular activities in the schools?
Well, the bottom line, number one, they're fun, and that's what they're intended to be, but they're also just another learning situation that if you will really get out there and get involved, you really become a part of the school. I do not like to see students or teachers or administrators that become kind of academic parasites, that they come to school and live off the school until 3:15 and then they disappear until the next day. There's a lot of good things that take place after 3:15, and I always encourage our students to get into a club, get into the band, get into athletics, get into some kind of organization. It really does help the feeling of I really am a Lassiter Trojan. Thank you for the opportunity to let me say a few words about Ms. Samuels, about Mr. Watkins, and the wonderful music program we have at Lassiter High School.
The Lassiter Flute Choir is a select group of 27 members chosen from the program's 3 bands. The group rehearsed 2 to 3 times a week during the preparation period, frequently as early as 7 o'clock in the morning. The Midwest performance was the flute choir's 3rd visit to the national stage. The choir is under the direction of Mrs. Karen Morsch. a professional flute teacher and performer with degrees in instrumental music education and flute performance. Let's join the Lassiter Flute Choir for their performance of Bach's Arioso from Cantata 156.
Okay, bassoons, what did you think was the best part about the trip to the Midwest?
The bassoon quartet performance.
Beatles picture, definitely.
What was that?
The Beatles picture.
We got to perform in the lobby of the hotel, of the Hilton. They had like 2 levels in the lobby. They would have, when you would walk in the lobby, there would be a level of stairs here, and then like a landing, and then another level, and they had a Christmas tree on each. And, oh, is that not in the camera? There was like 2 levels here, and the level went up like that, and Christmas tree, and we got to perform underneath the Christmas tree. We played some Beatles tunes and some classical arrangements, and there were some of the band directors came and stood under us and everything. And then afterwards, one of the band parents took a picture of us, and it looked like a little album cover there.
The percussion section had these comments to add about their favorite part of the trip.
What was the most significant part that you thought about the Midwest trip?
Probably meeting people like Alfred Reed, all the major composers.
The Ludwig guy.
Or, yeah, seeing all the exhibits,
yeah. Exhibits were nice.
Of course, performing.
And finally, the trumpets give their impressions.
I liked the performance. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the doorknobs on our hotel rooms are like crystal with little bubbles in them.
Yeah, the ballroom was cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the hotel that we played in was gorgeous. And it was neat seeing all the guest conductors and such, famous people. And the Herald trumpets. Yeah, the Herald trumpets. Yeah.
Mr. Watkins was born in Jackson, Georgia. He received his Bachelor of Music Education degree from Florida A&M University. While there, he was a conducting student of Dr. William P. Foster and Dr. Julian White. Prior to arriving at Lassiter, he served for 6 years as director of bands at Murphy High School in Atlanta. Mr. Watkins was named Teacher of the Year in 1978 and Star Teacher in 1982, 83, and 89. Under his baton, the band program has earned many distinguished awards. He is a 3-time recipient of the Citation of Excellence from the National Band Association and is quite respected as an adjudicator, clinician, and guest conductor throughout the United States. He is also on the Band Selection Committee of the John Philip Sousa Foundation. For his contributions to the world of music, Mr. Watkins was inducted as a charter member into the Florida A&M Gallery of Distinguished Alumni. Dr. William P. Foster, Director of Bands at Florida A&M University since 1946, is a graduate of the University of Kansas, Wayne State University, and the Columbia Teachers College. Dr. Foster, in addition to his many duties and accolades as band director at Florida A&M, is the composer of 4 published works for concert band. He is director of the McDonald's All-American High School Band, on the Board of Advisors for Instrumentalist Magazine, as well as a board member of the John Philip Sousa Association. Mr. Watkins' college band director, Dr. William P. Foster, conducts his own composition entitled March Brillante. there's a mystique to the Midwest Band and Orchestra Clinic that is quite unexplainable. Is it the people, the exhibits, the performance, perhaps the preparation? No one seems to be quite sure. But one thing is for sure. Any two people who have attended the event feel the same way about the event, but neither can verbalize their emotions about this mysterious thing to the other. Some Lassiter band students give their opinions as to what the mystique of the Midwest means to them. How did the performance itself affect you emotionally?
Well, during the performance, I was just so caught up in it, I didn't even notice I was tired.
Yeah.
And then you came home and you
and then I
crashed.
realized,
You
hey,
got
I'm tired.
sick.
By then it was all over and it's so much fun.
And now, Band Officer Shawn Wedgeworth gives her opinions on the mystique.
What made the Midwest Conference, the whole thing, just such a spiritual thing?
Spiritual thing. The energy that was flowing through the air, everything. The energy! Everything was so exciting. Everybody was rooting for everybody else, and it was really electric. You didn't know what was going to come next, but you were excited about everything.
Yeah. Did you find that even though we had rehearsed for so many hours and we knew what was going to happen, that everything was very spontaneous?
Yes, it was, because no matter how much you rehearse something like that, you don't know what the conditions are going to be when you get there. So the ballroom and the energy and the people added so much to it that everything was new. The music, it was like everything was completely new.
What was your initial feeling the moment you walked out on the Midwest stage?
I think I was overwhelmed by just all the people that were in the audience. And the band had done so well so far. The concert was going really well, so I was excited. But to tell you the truth, I barely remember what my initial reaction was, because the whole thing was just a big daze to me. And it all happened so fast. It really did all go by so fast.
You never know who you might meet at the Midwest Band and Orchestra Clinic. Principal oboist Kimberly Bushell has this story to tell.
I used to live in Kentucky where I first started playing the oboe, and I was walking down the hall in the Hilton, and this man bumped into me accidentally, and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry," and he turned around and he just kind of looked at me and he walked on, and I later realized that it was my first band director from Kentucky. Isn't that neat? Wow. But he didn't recognize me, but I think he recognized me, but he hadn't seen me without braces and glasses and lots of fat. How do you control individual fatigue during the performance?
Good little glasses of water.
Yeah.
There wasn't any really.
Yeah, no,
Because,
I don't ever get tired.
There were so many people there. I mean, when you're playing, there's so many people there, and they're all cheering for it, and you know they
Yeah.
come to hear you instead of just be there and kind of because your son
Yeah.
plays in it. You know, it's totally different than playing in a theater, because there's people there who actually want to hear you and want to pay attention to what you're doing instead of just being there because they're your parents.
That's the mystique of the Midwest. Dr. Harry Bijan is one of the world's most renowned conductors. He was director of bands at the University of Illinois from 1970 to 1984, where he earned Director Emeritus status. He has also had tenures at Michigan State University and Wayne State University. His reputation was earned during his many great years at Detroit's Cass Technical High School, which possesses one of the finest high school bands in the country. Dr. Bijan received his bachelor's and master's degrees from Wayne State University. He completed his doctoral degree at the University of Michigan and studied conducting at Tanglewood, summer home of the Boston Symphony Orchestra. Under the direction of Dr. Bijan, the University of Illinois band program was considered the epitome of excellence in the band world. The program's enrollment had reached upwards of 700 students. The more than 60 albums in the University of Illinois' Symphonic Band Library comprise one of the largest and finest collections of recorded band performances in existence. Dr. Bijan describes the integral function that the parents of the band play in the Midwest process.
many of the parents of this group. And I was so impressed because I've seen many parents groups in different places, in different situations, that were just wonderful in the way they supported a music department, or a band, or an orchestra, or a choir. But the way these people in Georgia and in Marietta support the Lassiter High School band is unbelievable. After I finished my rehearsal, for instance, a couple of ladies walked in and said, "You're having dinner here in the band room." And they came on with the most delicious dinner, and we just ate there. And they were so accommodating in every way, and they, in a manner of speaking, they weren't like these two directors, Sue or Alfred. They won't let their feet touch the ground. They're always there. They're always in there helping them and wanting to do all the things that have to be done in the operation of the department. I think you people should recognize these wonderful parents, these wonderful people at Lassiter High School.
Mr. John Painter, head of the 1989 Midwest Band and Orchestra Clinic, introduces Dr. Bijan.
The other night, I had the great pleasure and personal joy of presenting this wonderful band and this great conductor with the Medal of Honor. He will come out to conduct the colonial song by Percy Granger. Will you please welcome Dr. Harry Bijan.
If you had the chance, would you do it all over again?
I'll do it again in a second. I probably would prefer to go back, I guess, next year maybe as a spectator, just for the feeling of being composed and relaxed and sociable. But I had no idea what it would do for our program. When I accepted the invitation, I knew that it was something we needed to do, something that would be great for us. National exposure would be great for our program and for our region of the country. But what it did for the individual student, we won't be able to measure. And for that reason, I'd go back in a flash. We know now that we can do a high-powered marching band and do a symphonic band and do them both by December and do them both well. It took a lot out of all of us, but mostly took out of our mental energies. The students' grades suffered a bit from it, but they were pretty well prepared for it, and I'm not sure what the results would have been otherwise. But I think that the whole band community at Lassiter is so much stronger, having gone through all the hard practices and seeing a day-to-day improvement, and seeing, I guess we had 100 and 150 people that were all zeroing in on one specific function to make it work and make it happen, and it did. And now we all know that if we need to put up those energies again, we can do it, whether it's individually or collectively. So for that reason, the Midwest experience will always be special. Plus, we did it. It's over. It's history. And we did it, and it's something, a good, strong, positive activity that will last with all of us as long as we can remember.
And now, the final selection in the Lassiter Band's program from the Midwest Band and Orchestra Clinic 1989. Here is David Holsinger's dramatic Prelude and Rondo.
And thank you so much for not being nervous on stage. For watching and for giving it your best shot. The interesting thing about it is that nobody will ever understand what you just went through. And you can't explain it to anybody except for the people that were on stage with you. And so you don't even have to try. Well, that's a real special experience that you just had, and the applause and the roar of the audience, when it's like this and when it's warm and when it's appreciated, is what we do for a living. I say we collectively, because you're musicians too, and it was wonderful. I enjoyed every second of it. I told you I was going to have a good time. And I don't need all the drugs and alcohol. I don't need it to get my high. To get my high through music and through having wonderful, wonderful students and friends and parents to work with us.
What did you learn from the Midwest experience?
A lot of music.
To work as a team.
Yeah.
What did you learn from the entire experience?
Hard work pays off.
It really does.
Well, we learned more self-discipline.
Yeah, right.
What a good answer.
Yeah.
Time management, yes.
If you had the chance, would you go back again? Do it all over again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you could, what would you change? What would you do differently during the preparations that you hadn't done before?
Not go outside as much. It's too cold.
No, I think I'd change making probably more rehearsals per week, but not making them as long so they could be more intense, get more done in an hour than you could in 3 one-hour sessions than you could in 2.5-hour sessions.
Yeah. If you had the chance, would you do it all over again?
Definitely, without a doubt.
What would you change? Would you change anything in the preparations or getting ready for it? Would you do anything differently than you did before?
I would try to learn my score a little earlier in the season so I wouldn't be panicked at the last minute like I was this past time. But as far as the band's preparation, I think we did it the way it needed to be done. I think we worked little by little all through the fall, and we didn't put off the panic to the last minute, and I thought it worked out really well, and the concert went well.
What are your future plans for the symphonic program?
I'll keep it going. We'll have to find new challenges and new heights. I'd like to take them abroad. I'm not sure exactly where, but you know what we have here is we keep it in-house. We talk about it a lot. We reflect on it a lot. The students are real intelligent and real musical and real heady, and not selfish. So with a program like that, you can almost do anything. I'd like to play in the Intimate Symphony with the band next year because it's one of those top of the pyramid selections of bands that very few bands are capable of ever playing because of the musical maturity that's required and the technical demands that's required of it. I'd like to play that with the band. I'd like to take them abroad, but most importantly, I'd like to continue to do conferences. I'd like to continue to take them across to, I want to go back to the state convention because it's time for us to do that kind of function again. And the program grew so much collectively that it's pretty exciting. Now we can put a level 6 piece together in 5, 6 rehearsals. We've never been able to do that before. So that's pretty exciting to be able to stretch us to new demands, new limits.
And now, Alfred L. Watkins, Director of Bands at Lassiter High School, has these closing remarks about the Midwest.
I guess the one footnote to the whole Midwest procedure was the band itself. I don't think I've ever been prouder of any youth organization in my life than I was than I have been for the Midwest band. It's the same band now, but it's got a kind of a different flavor in the spring. But the Midwest band did everything that it needed to do to get the performance good. It was the youngest band, well, the youngest band we've had in about 5 years. And some cases a lot thinner in individual talent than we've had in some past years. But I think the performance will show that it was a better band than a lot of the other bands that we've ever had with greater degrees of talent because it worked hard as a family. We talk a lot about doing that and staying within the section and learning to work as an ensemble. But they did that. They went through marching season, and we could rehearse every Monday night. And those Monday night rehearsals were long, and they came after a long weekend, usually, and nobody ever complained. Nobody complained about grades, nobody complained about time. We had almost 100% attendance to every rehearsal before school and after school. And the students did a few things on their own, and they kept it going. And I never thought that the Lassiter band would take that kind of a challenge on individually, and each student do his part to make it happen. We had a symphonic band camp in here, and it worked exceptionally well. Got us over the hump. The students knew what had to be done, and they represented in my eyesight probably the model high school band program any place in order to get that performance prepared to the best of their abilities. And for that reason, I'm real proud of the Midwest band. It'll always remain special.